Hey guys, welcome to the fourth video of security testing series. I'm Ubaid Ahmed, and in this video we are going to cover two important activities of reconnaissance phase. We are talking about content discovery and port enumeration. In this video, we are going to cover what content discovery is and some tools and techniques for performing it. We are also going to see what port enumeration is, what's the benefit of performing it, and how we can perform port enumeration. So without further delay, let's get started. So the question is, what is content discovery? But before understanding what content discovery is and how we do it, we must first understand what is content in terms of application security. Well, the content can be anything like a file, an image, or a video file, or any directory, and it can also be any hidden feature present in an application. When we are talking about application security, then what we see on website like a blog or an image or a video or company address or customer care number, then all these things are not content for us because they are right there for everyone to see. For us, the security researchers or penetration testers or bug bounty hunters, whatever you like calling yourself, the content is something which is hidden and not expected to be public. For example, invoices or personal information of users, their bank statements, their credit card information, all these are not meant to be public. Okay, now we aim to find similar information via content discovery. Now, doing this activity becomes more fruitful after we have performed the subdomain enumeration. So, the ideal time of performing content discovery is after we have performed the subdomain enumeration. And it's the activity which we have already covered in the last video. And if you have not yet watched the video, then the link is in the description, or you can find the link in the icon above as well. Now, once we have the list of subdomains, then we can either do the content discovery for all the subdomains one by one or just target the interesting subdomains. Now, one thing to note over here is that it's not necessary that you will find a vulnerability at this stage. Chances are that you just find few subdomains and nothing much in these content discovery. However, there is also a possibility of finding a .git directory or some working credentials at this stage. There are several tools and techniques that we can use for this purpose, and we are going to cover them one by one. The first one is docking. Yes, we use this technique for finding subdomains, but we can also use it for content discovery as well. It's all about the docs we use and how we form our query, and we can use it. If we can use this technique for subdomain enumeration as well as for content discovery, and we can find really juicy and cool information using it. Let's say we are performing the security testing or application security for Tesla. Now, first we just require the results from Tesla, and for that we will use a doc called site and tesla.com. Now we know that we only have the result from tesla.com. We want to find out if some PDF file, probably containing sensitive information, is present on tesla.com or not. For this, we will use another doc called file type. PDF. Okay, I have made a typo over here. So file type PDF. Let's talk about this particular doc, which is file type. The value of this particular doc is any extension. It can be PDF, it can be TXT file, it can be exe, or it can be SQL as well, or XLS, or anything you want. So now here we have got certain results, and we can see that all of them are PDF files. Now let's change the value to TXT. I'll just remove this and type TXT. Okay, I've got just one file, and it is robots.txt. Before viewing the content of this file, let's first understand what robots.txt is. Well, the file is created, this particular robots.txt file is created for search engines, and it instructs them that how to crawl the pages on this particular website. This is used mainly to avoid overloading the site with requests. We can specify what needs to be crawled and what not. To better understand, let's open this file now and see its content. Okay, you can see over here that all these are allowed to be crawled by the search engines. Like And over here I have directories, and these directories are disallowed. And over here I have files, and these are also disallowed to be crawled. And we have some path. So basically all these are not allowed to be crawled by the search engine, all these things. Now, well, often website owners do not want any page with the sensitive information to be crawled, and those URLs are mentioned over here. However, they might fail to implement adequate security for these pages, like whatever pages they are mentioning over here in under for the disallowed section. Now, an attacker might pick those URLs and try to access them, and if they find out that there is no adequate security implemented, then they will be able to access that particular sensitive information which the website owner was trying to protect. So over here, like if we see some of the things, then we have uh, certain paths which are not allowed to be like crawled by the by the search engine. So let's say, okay, let's see this one. We have scripts, and if I go over here and type scripts, then you don't have permission to access scripts on this server. That means this particular path exists, but there's adequate security which is restricting me from accessing this particular location or the content which is here. It's a good thing that they have this particular restriction over here. However, that application which you are testing might not have those restrictions, and you might be able to access sensitive information or some feature which is not meant to be public. And there are also chances that you can bypass these restrictions. Yes, there are ways through which we can bypass this restriction, and I'm going to cover those in the coming videos. So it's not necessary that you will always use Google Docking for accessing this robots.txt. You can just simply go over here and type say cards24.com/robots.txt, and here you can access the particular file. So like you can just simply type robots.txt and you will be able to access the robots.txt file. Now another doc that we can use for content discovery is in title. Let me go back over here and here. Okay, I'll just remove this one and type in title. So as the name suggests, in title will look for the provided value, like whatever value we are going to provide in the title tag. Now we can use it for finding admin panels or Jenkins instances or stuff like that. So let's try something like Jenkins. So we did not find anything, so probably they don't have a Jenkins instance, but we cannot be sure. I mean, like I cannot go much deeper into this. There are certain YouTube policies which restricts me from going deeper and showing you the actual the attacking stuff on the public website. So I'm sorry for that, but there's one more tip for all of you. I mean, you can use this Google Docking for some really cool stuff. Instead of tesla.com, simply type github.com and then check for a particular application, and you never know, you might find some secret keys or some secret API keys. Probably that particular target application have this particular repository public, or some of their developers have committed this mistake and they have uploaded the particular code which were working on their own public repository, and you might be able to access or gain access to that particular applications some sensitive code. And there have been like cases in past where attackers have gained access to an application because the developer who was working on that application uploaded the code on their public repository. Okay, now when we talk about content discovery, then another way of content discovery is by performing the directory brute force. Directory brute force is the method of finding hidden and forgotten directories on a site. Now, these directories can either allow us to access some secret or juicy information or prove to be an entry point for some other attacks. For example, phpMyAdmin is one of the common directory which we can find out via this technique. There's some other directories which we might find like demo or test. Now all these directories might contain data or application running on these paths which was not meant to be available for public. But due to configuration issues or mere negligence, these paths might become accessible to public. So these might prove to be an entry point for an attacker. Now there are various open source tools which can be used for directory brute force, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we are going to see the demo of directory search tool. It's again a Python based tool and it's easy to set up. You can either provide your own word list or use its default word list, which also does pretty decent work. You can find the link of this tool in the description below. So in order to use this tool, just switch to the directory and type python search.py -u and the application which you are testing -e to specify the extensions. Like you can specify the file extension over here. For example, if you are interested in PDF, you can specify PDF, GSP, or HTML, or whatever you are interested in. And if you like want to search for everything, you can just simply provide asterisk, and it will look for all the extension that it can find. Hit enter. Okay, just ignore these warnings, and it has started to look for all these extensions. You can see it is looking for PHP, JSP, ASP, ASPX. Okay, now over here you can see that I'm getting lots of 403 and 401. So let me just first of all stop this thing. So these were all the extensions that this particular tool was looking for: PHP, JSP, ASP, all these things you can read over here. And then the word list that this particular tool was using had around 14,424 like payloads. All these payloads it will try to find out the files. Now the problem over here is we are getting lots of 403 and 401. What to do for this? Now there's a way via which you can filter all these results which you are getting. Okay, and if I type -x 403, let me put a space over here, and comma 401, all these status code I want to filter out. Hit enter, and now I'm not getting the results for these status codes. And you can see the percentage completion over here and the number of attempts it has already made. Like it has tried 257 entries out of 14,424. So let this scan run over here, and meanwhile let's proceed further in the video to our next tool, and our next tool is wfuzz. So similar to directory search, we have this particular tool, and it is created to facilitate the task in web application assessment, and it is based on a simple concept. It replaces any reference to the fuzz keyword by the value of a given payload. In case of directory search, like automatically it was appending at the end of the whatever URL we provided. But in case of wfuzz, we can provide a particular this fuzz keyword, and it will put the payload wherever it will find this fuzz keyword. So let's see a demo of this tool as well. So I am at my terminal. I'll just type wfuzz and hit enter, and you can see all the things, all the help command over here, and what all things I can use. So I'll just start typing wfuzz -c. So -c basically now it will color my output. -l. Okay, and if there is any redirection, to -l means that you have to follow that particular redirection. Then hc, for example, if there is any particular status code that I want to hide, I don't want to see the results for that particular status code, like just we use -x in case of directory search. So similarly, I'll just provide over here 401, okay, space 403. So instead of hide code, I can also use -sc, which means show code. If I'm interested only in 200 status code, I can provide --sc and 200. Then only those results where status code is 200 will be shown to me. So let me remove this one as of now and proceed further. -u is for specifying the URL tesla.com. Here make sure that you have to provide fuzz keyword, and this is where your payloads will be inserted. Now we have to provide our word list, so I'll just go over here and word list and sec list. Okay, let me choose something from over here. Let's go for this discovery and file systems common.txt. So this is going to be my word list which I'm going to provide over here. Hit enter. Okay, the scan is completed, but we did not find anything. Okay, let me again run this particular command, and this time I'll just remove this hide code, and let me see what happens now. Okay, so here you can see I'm getting 403 for all the entries that I'm trying, and so that means there's a proper security implemented over here. But in case of a target application, you might find some directories or hidden directories using this particular tool. Then you encounter there's particular URL which is giving you 200, or there's particular payload which is giving you 200. Just try and see what actually is there on this particular, on that particular payload or on that particular directory. Suppose you have got 200 for this particular thing, telecom cal lucid cc.log. You could have accessed their log, and that's a vulnerability if you are able to access a particular application's log. We covered directory search, we covered wfirst, but these are not the only tools that we can use for content discovery. There are many other tools as well, like we have Shodan, a search engine. Basically it is a powerful search engine which can be used for searching any internet connected device. It is often used by cybersecurity experts to help protect individuals or your public utilities or enterprises or different organizations. Whenever you search a particular term on Shodan, it will return anything which is publicly available related to the search term. Now, this search engine is so powerful that you can even find open or unsecured webcams or CCTV cameras, control panels for traffic light or even power grids. A word of caution over here is that use the search engine at your own risk, because if you are going to use it with a motive to hack someone, then you will be only responsible for it. My job is to share information, and the purpose of this video is to educate you, and in no way I support or encourage hacking. So this is how the UI looks like for this particular tool. And suppose if I type Tesla, then here I can see all the results related to Tesla. Okay. Here I'm also able to see the ports which it found, and some of the top organization, for example, probably they are using some digital ocean droplet, and some of the products that are being used by Tesla, like they have using engines, they're using Microsoft Exchange, and they have these operating systems. So similarly, you can find information related to your particular target using this shorthand tool, and if they happen to be using any vulnerable version of engines or some other service, then you can search for a working exploit for that particular vulnerability. If you are able to exploit it, then it's good for you. Straight away report that vulnerability. However, if you're not able to exploit it, then you can at least report that a vulnerable component or service is being used by the application. Now, the next activity that we must perform is to find the open ports of a target application. This activity is known as port enumeration, port scanning, and there are like multiple names for it. We find the open ports in this particular activity and the services running on those open ports, And if we find any vulnerable service, for example, if port 22 is open and we know that port 22 is used for SSH, using password based authentication for port 22 or for SSH is a vulnerability because it can be easily brute forced. Now we can report about it, and for a POC we can try a few common passwords or easily available passwords on the internet. However, we must keep in mind the scope and if we have the permission from the client to break into any such machine. Similarly, if we are performing bug bounty or responsible disclosure, then we must strictly follow the program rules and not break into any such machines if it is not allowed to do so. Now, talking about the remediation for this particular vulnerability, then we can suggest that key-based authentication must be used, and if the business requirements allow, then whitelist the IPs from which SSH can be done. Another example could be if we find port 3389 is open. Now this port is used for RDC, that is remote desktop connection. Now we can remotely connect to the machine or servers using Windows RDC service. And if you observe that you are able to access a particular machine using or like there's no authentication, or you can access that particular machine using a common password or easily or any password which is easily available on the internet, then you can definitely report about it. And if you're not able to find the password, then you can simply report that that particular port is open and how it is vulnerable. Now let's see a quick demo of this particular tool, Nmap. So nmap -sv. Now this particular parameter will help us find the services running on the port which is found to be open. -p 065535. Now -p denotes ports, and we can specify the specific ports that we are interested in. For example, 80 comma, okay, these ports should be comma separated, so 80 comma 443 comma 22, or we can provide a specific range of IPs like I have provided. If we do not provide -p, then Nmap will still work and it will use a default list of ports, which is also good. But while performing content discovery, it is like recommended to search for all the open ports and then the URL of the application that we are testing. Hit enter. Now, instead of the URL, you can also provide the IP address of an application. For example, we found some IPs during shortened search, and if you have watched the previous videos, then we also found some IPs when we were performing subdomain enumeration. So we can perform Nmap for those IPs as well. I mean, and it is recommended that we must perform Nmap for those IPs. Now, one thing to note over here is that Nmap would only find the open ports for the URL that you have provided. It won't report open ports for its subdomains. For that, you'll have to perform a Nmap scan separately for each of the subdomain. So now I don't know if Tesla is having some vulnerable port open or not, and I don't want to record if there is any vulnerability or if there is any vulnerable open port in this video. So I'll stop the scan here only. I will again run the scan for ports 80 and 443. So here are the services running on these open ports. Now notice that we have not only got the IPs related to the target URL, but some other IPs as well, which were not scanned. See, the chances are that some load balancer is being used or we are being redirected from one server to another internally. So all these IPs could be either of the load balancer or of any redirecting server. Now during security testing, we must perform a scan for all such IPs. Now suppose you want to perform Nmap scan for multiple domains. First of all, create a text file containing the list of all the domains, subdomains, or IP addresses, and even a combination of all these. So let's create a list called testlist.txt, and suppose I want to perform the scan for tesla.com and cars24.com. Now here I will provide hyphen, small I, capital L, and then my list name. Now further I want to save the results in an output file. So I will use another parameter hyphen O and the location and the name of the file in which I want to save the scan results. Nmap will now pick up an entry from the file provided and perform the scan on each entry one by one. Okay, so we have the results on our screen now, and these are the results for cars24.com, and these are the results for tesla.com. Let's do cat myscanresult.txt and see its content. I can see the results are saved in the file as it is. Till now, you have learned how to enumerate subdomains and perform content discovery for each of the subdomain. Also, you have learned how to search for open ports and find out the services running on them. If we talk about real life scenario, then while performing security testing, mostly we are able to find at least one vulnerability or an entry point by this stage. We can call it an end to the activities that we perform during reconnaissance phase, but based on the outcome of whatever we have performed till now, we might have to repeat certain activities. For example, if we found certain IPs on shorthand or during Nmap search or during the Nmap scan, then we can perform dorking or shorthand on such IPs and do content discovery for them. There are a lot of things which are yet to be covered in the coming videos that we perform during the security testing. So if you are liking my videos and you find them useful and you have yet not subscribed to the channel, then make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye and happy learning.